The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on FRC Media as we get closer to the November 7th election. We are speaking to as many candidates as possible so you can make an informed choice when you go to the polls on that day. Pleased to be joined right now by the Mayor of the City of Fall River, seeking a third term, Mayor Paul Coogan. Mayor, thank you for joining me. Nice to see you again. How are things?
Thanks for having me. Good.
So let's start with the preliminary. Did very well. Over 60% of the vote. How do you view your campaign now between now and November? Anything changing, just keeping the course?
No, we'll keep the course. I mean, the preliminary, everybody in the political science business tells me that's the best poll you can buy. Those are actual voters expressing their opinion on the race. We take no votes for granted. We have to keep working. We work extremely hard. That's one thing I'm proud of in this campaign. We got our numbers that night. Wednesday, we're back at work. It just is, it's a campaign to November 7th, and we'll go to that one, and we'll be fine. We have work to do, but there's plenty of people to help.
And that was going to be my next question, the volunteers that you have. I know that for a race like this, the volunteers are the key. Those are the ones that talk to other people in the city who may be on the fence about voting. Can you really express your appreciation enough to those people?
No, you can't. It's these people give up their nights, their weekends. They go out and help you whenever you need things, whether it's a sign holding or you have an event. They support you financially. It really is special to a candidate. Those are one of the things when you're alone and you think about what you're going through and how you're getting there, and it's those people that make the job so much easier, and I thank every one of them. It's coming out of Durfee High School, I have a tremendous base because of the number of kids we rolled through there every year, and a lot of them are still involved. I still see them, and I appreciate all of them.
I want to get to some topics, as we did for the preliminary, some issues that may be of importance to city voters. I want to start with crime, and just to give a background, we're recording this after our FRC media debate and also after a debate that was held on Channel 10. So that's the time frame of where we are when we're recording this on October 16th. I want to start with crime. You had a lot of statistics about how Fall River has fared under your administration compared to previous administrations over the past 10 years. How would you depict the state of crime and crime fighting in Fall River during your time? Well,
again, we're desperately trying to get to a full complement of men. We're about 22 down right now. Regretfully, New Bedford's like at 55 down, so we're not bad. I believe we'll have a class of 18 going in December, which will take us almost to full, and that's a plus. I believe that the long extended battle we had about getting body cameras onto our guys now is starting to pay dividends. We've noticed a sharp reduction in citizens' complaints at the police department, and I think it does make the residents and the police more comfortable when they're interacting with each other. I look at the equipment we've bought them, the amount of cameras we have in the city now, and genuinely had a number of great successes with the cameras we have on the place, solving some of our biggest crimes. I think we have a good, solid team down there at the police department right now. There is some stability with a new chief and his crew of captains. And we're working hard to bring it up. I think, the residents have to understand crime. There is not I've looked everywhere. There's not a city of 85 to 100,000 that doesn't have crime statistics. We have some. There was an incident over the weekend. You really want to come out and tell everybody what it was about and what happened, but you can't because there's still active investigations going on. And to let the public know that it's not a problem that they have to worry about right now. It's of course, anytime someone fires a gun, it's scary and no one knows where the bullets are going. But at the same time, it wasn't like a traditional crime against the public. It was they knew who the target was. They knew who the people involved were, and they're working to crack that case right now. I have a lot of confidence that'll be solved shortly. And you look at what we've done. We've had so many interactions between the community and the police, whether it's the hot shots, whether it's the Junta road race, whether it's the car seat giveaway. We're trying to get our community policing to a point where our police and our community interact together. You know, we were at one of the neighborhood meetings one night, and they were talking about the police playing basketball in Griffin Park with the kids. Those are the kind of things we're out there pushing. Community policing, we need the residents' help. Let us know what's going on. We always will take a call. But at the same time, I think we're moving in the right direction on crime.
Is that one of the big topic of calls that you get in the office, that because of staffing, police are not as responsive? I mean, people want, you know, they want police to come right away.
Correct.
Is that something you still hear? And, you know, obviously there's been a new patrolman's contract, which makes the playing field a little level in terms of recruiting officers. I mean, have we seen that be helped? I mean, is that why we have 18 now?
Yeah, that's why we slowed the flow. I mean, and people are staying in Fall River now because we treat them like the other communities treat them around Bristol County. I think it does help. You know, sometimes you'll hear about a term they call prioritizing the calls. They try to get to obviously the dangerous ones, but sometimes people will call up about a fender bender, and they want the police there to mediate it or to settle it, when a simple change of insurance information could resolve it and let the police stay on patrols.
Right.
And people get frustrated with you on things like that. But at the same time, we try to do everything we can to service as many of our residents as possible with a fast response and the service they deserve.
Working with Police Chief Galvin, did you have a goal in mind to try to get that complement up? Obviously, you want it yesterday, I get that, but is there a goal this fiscal year to try to get
Absolutely.
up to that 20 fill?
We want a full complement of men so we can both reduce overtime, keep our guys fresh, and at the same time cover all of our patrols. We want people out there that are working the shifts they're supposed to work and taking care of the residents in the city. That's the goal. There's a number that we try to get to that we think makes the city safer, and we're working hard to get there.
I want to shift now to housing. That was another issue that was brought up at our debate on October 12th. Your response to it was actually the first time I had heard the third. You may have said it before, I just hadn't heard that before.
Right.
Talk about that, and how will that plan of sort of sharing the housing benefit a city like Fall River?
Well, it's how a city should be made up of people. You want to help some of the people to stay here, to climb out of an affordable apartment to the middle income apartment to expensive market rate apartments. When I hear some of the rents in Fall River that people are paying, I have no idea how I would have ever paid that when I was a kid. But there are people paying it, and people have to understand that is a plus for the community. When you look at what Tony Cadero did with that little union building across from the city of Fall River, those are small one-bedroom apartments. I think they're getting $1,800 a month, and he rented them all to out-of-towners. That is so important to have in a vibrant city. New residents coming in and spending their money in our community, whether they're walking over to Scotty's, coming over to City Hall to pay a fee, or going downtown to one of the restaurants. That's how you revitalize a city, new blood. And again, taking care of who needs support, hoping they move to the next one, and maybe they'll eventually get to the top one. I know I would have probably never done that, but at the same time, that's a goal. And housing, we were looking at the numbers today. He talks about New Bedford. With all respect, New Bedford has like 500 vacant houses. I was reading that the other day that they're trying to convert. We're down to maybe 80. Many of ours are being done. We're in a building blocks program where we work with the Attorney General to rehab some of this property, which will then be made into affordable units. I'm just not keen on another 12 or 14-story building or a big development. We have been strategically placing our affordable units around the city to incorporate them into an existing neighborhood. We're not going to stop doing it. We're still doing it, but I'm just not building the big ones. Fall River has approximately 28% in some kind of an affordability category that we think is fair.
I want to talk about that middle level. You had mentioned that Anthony Cordero's rents $1,500, $1,800?
18, yeah, could be.
Is that for one bedroom?
And studios.
Where would you consider the middle group? What would be their rents? I mean, I know
Depending on the
without
number
numbers
of
in front of you,
right. Without numbers in front of me,
Yeah.
but it depends on the number of bedrooms.
Right.
You know what I mean? The middle group may be paying $1,200, but it might be a studio or a one bedroom. I was looking at rents today on one of the categories. We were about $1,850 for average rent, but I think that was a 2-bedroom apartment. So when you looked at the rest of Bristol County, we were a little more than Alborough, a little less than Taunton, and just about the same as New Bedford. So our rents are in the same type of a category as our neighboring communities. I mean, I don't know what the middle class can afford anymore on rents because I've been fortunate enough to own a house, but I would probably say $1,200 to $1,800, depending on the number of bedrooms.
But as we have more, I'm going to call them absentee landlords, they don't live here, that make an investment, are you seeing that those middle rents are actually going up? Because I buy a triple decker from someone, I pay $500,000, I want a return on my investment, it's going to be tough for me to charge $1,000, $1,200 a month.
Well, that's the conundrum, okay?
Right.
So what happens, I was looking at the home sales this morning in the paper. A paper in a house, a multifamily on Winter Street in 2020 sold for $370,000. It's now valued at, it now sold for around $600. Yeah. So that was only 3 or 4 years ago. Right. So someone is making some money on these properties. And people have to understand, rents are going up, but property values are going up. So the investment that Keith Tebow and his wife made in the property in Fall River is going up. That's a positive. So your investment in our city is returning a dividend for you down the road. It's the cities around the country where the property you bought today is losing value that you got to start to worry about. If you're making a sound investment, you get a return on it. And again, as you said, you know, you're paying insurance, water, maintenance, all the costs associated with a property, they're all going up. Yeah. Inflation's running at what, 7-8%, and they want you, and that's what I try to tell people. We're allowed to bring our taxes up 2.5%. But if inflation's running at 7 or 8, we're losing 5 or 6% every year. We're not even keeping pace with inflation as a city. So you have to be creative in your financing. And you can't put all the burden on the property owners or the tenants. That's what you do. Yeah. You try to work through it.
Let's actually move to that. That was going to be one of my topics, city finances. There's still some ARPA money left. I believe the last time we spoke about 25 million, 30 million left that the city can spend. Right. If reelected, has to be allocated by the end of 24. How do you envision spending that money?
Well, I really, hate to tell people, but a big chunk of that's probably going to go to Lewiston Street, our DCM headquarters down there. We need everything down there. We need a whole new parking lot. We probably need a new salt sheds. We need to do something about the old incinerator, which we inherited. It's been there forever. You go in it, you look up, it's all open. Right. It needs work. That's going to take a significant financial investment. If we can use that under that flex provision they put in the ARPA bill, then we can get that straightened out for the next 50, 60 years, which is important for our guys that work down there. I think there is still a lot of streets that we want to do. As everyone knows, we've done more streets than just about any mayor in the history of Fall River. We're doing sidewalks. I was driving here today. I see sidewalks getting done. And I think that the ARPA money is going to go into strategic infrastructure investments to take care of the city for the long haul.
Does that include maybe more water projects? Again,
absolutely.
To keep those rates in check as best you can?
It's funny, we were sitting the other day and I look at how much money we've given water, and I was torturing poor Paul Furl, and he and I were going back and forth. I'm saying, you're getting the lion's share of all the money that's coming in. We're looking at some additional lead pipe removal grants. Again, we're removing lead pipes that have been in the city since existence. Yeah. So we're fixing a problem that's been there forever. I'm not saying that to put down any former mayors because they didn't have the kind of money and flexibility did. We got a $10 million grant from the EPA, and I remember when I called up the DPW, the water department in the state, they were so impressed that we were able to pull that off. We were one of 5 cities that got that money. Nice. And
you're still getting state money as well. I get press releases all the time.
I know. We're doing really well right now with all of our grants, and we're working hard to keep the money coming in.
I want to shift now to economic development, which unfortunately didn't come up the way I would hope it would have come up the other night. Again, I asked you this last time. In the next 2 years, whoever is mayor, a plan for Route 79 is going to need to be probably formulated, even though the project may not be done until 26. Plans have to be in the works. So have you come up with a plan for Route 79? And then I want to expand to other parts of the city.
79 is one of those projects that's a state project right now.
Right.
Okay, so what is going to be the plan? Is the redevelopment authority getting control of this land? Is the state going to keep control of this land? Is it going to be a partnership? How is this land going to be doled out? Are we going to sell it by lots? Are we going to have a master developer take the whole thing? These are the questions we're faced with, and they're going back and forth with the state on the best way to tackle it.
So it's not a fait accompli that the city's getting the land.
No, it's not.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, it's their land. I mean, we're trying to push it that way because we think the redevelopment authority could do a nice job, but at the same time, that's the state land. Our investment down there is for water and sewer, which we would have to put in no matter who bought the land. What are we doing for pipes? What are we doing for our CSO projects? That's where we're working. We're all looking at the same thing. A master plan, how do we go forward with the land, and how does it end up? No matter who does it, state, RDA, City of Fall River, it's going to be a showplace for the city. I am totally convinced of that, no doubt.
But if the state retains control, will the city have any input?
Of course we will.
Right.
Of course we will.
Right.
We have a great relationship with the governor and the lieutenant governor, and our legislators are all hard-working, diligent people that put Fall River first. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a partnership, and it's going to be a partnership if the RDA gets it, because the state, no matter what happens, is going to have input on what goes on in that land. Do we put a parking deck? Do we put residential? What kind of housing do we put? What kind of retail? The whole project is going to be done as a partnership. It's just who's going to have the final say on a lot of this.
And are you hopeful that residents will have input in this as well?
Of course. We've already had a couple of public showings. Remember at the Heritage Park, we showed people what was going on. We want input from the residents. If they have a better idea than us, we'll use it, absolutely.
All right. What about the rest of the city? I know we've talked about the Flint, that project's moving forward.
Yep.
How about other parts of the city? I'm an old South End boy. What about any ideas for other parts of the
Well,
city?
the South End, as you know, there's also an urban renewal plan that they're talking about going down from Columbia Street down. This Columbia Street, we have to fix that whole corridor. Liberty Utilities was in there this year, so next year we're hoping we pave the whole thing and get that back to where it should be. As you know, the city's got control, or gaining control of that little park, and we'll rehab that and make it a showplace for the neighborhood. But again, South End, the Flint. When you drive around our city, I was driving here on the way up, I saw how many people were working on their houses, and I love seeing that as much as I do the big developments, Keith. People, because the values are going up, people are taking pride in their property. And it's such a tremendous plus for the city. But if you look at what our focus on the Flint, on the South End, the parks, you look at what's going to go on at across from Kennedy Park when St. Anne's Hospital's expansion is done. This is going to be a very vibrant town, and I can assure you, all the plans are moving in the right direction.
Downtown as well? I mean, the rest of downtown?
Yeah, downtown, there's this week I was told there's another new restaurant going in downtown. I think the traditional retail downtowns are probably a thing of the past, but at the same time, if you have enough mom and pop or small retail stores, that's what everybody tells me, we can revitalize downtown, and we're going to work on it. We don't sleep.
And you still have that support from the, it's TDI, I forget what TDI stands for, Transformative Development.
Yeah. It's initiative, and they do. We still work with them, and they're still keeping an eye on the big things.
Education. As chair of the school committee, I would hope that the progress, the district just got its MCAS scores, little bit improvement from the year before, but still a lot of work to be done. As chair of the school committee, former member of the school committee, how do you see your role over the next 2 years there?
Supporting the administration, Superintendent Ponce and her team. I think she has a great team in there right now, and they're going to move the scores along. Those are the things I've said from the get-go. Physically, our buildings are all top shelf. Our scores need work, which I think ties in with curriculum. I'm a big advocate of reading, being on grade level for reading. If you can get a kid on grade level at 3, 5, 7, you got a chance to take them anywhere they want to go. Those are the areas I look at. Scores are our scores. I still think we're still feeling the after effects of COVID. But as I am a hands-on mayor, I've already been visiting schools right along. I was in the Green School, Favera School last week, Watson. I go walk around and tour the schools to see what's going on, how the teachers are interacting with the kids, what's the climate like, do they need anything, are there specifics? And I'll tour them all probably a couple times a year. That's part of what I look at as being both chairman of the school committee and mayor. But our schools have challenges, attendance, our scores, but we got a great staff in there. Still have some openings, but we're working as hard as we can to get everything filled up and get kids in front of teachers.
There's a potential ballot question next year to eliminate MCAS from consideration. I think we talked about this last time. You may not be necessarily in favor of eliminating, but maybe just how
shorten
it works.
I would rather see them find a way to shorten that test. I just think it's, I don't have a problem with standards, but 16, 18 hours is way too long for me. I think when you try to be so comprehensive that you literally disrupt the educational cycle, I think they could do a much better job on a much shorter scale. And I believe if they had done something like that, this question wouldn't have come forward. I think the problem is the standards and the length of it. I just think there's a better way to do it, and we'll go with whatever they got. We don't have to. If they eliminate it, that's fine. But if they did something in the middle, I'd be happy to.
Yeah. As part of the MCAS scores, they also provided a snapshot of absenteeism in the district. The numbers were improved from 2022 than 2021, but it's still an issue here in Fall River.
Right.
Again, there's no magic formula for this.
No, we have a tremendous team of truant officers that are out in the community all the time. We bought them all little cars so they can shuttle kids into school. If they can go to Keith's house and he's ready to go, get in the car, Keith will bring him in, and we're working diligently on that. The amount of data we get on our attendance, you can run a report. I used to do it when I was vice principal, and I would look at anybody that's been out more than 3 days and see what their overall attendance was like. Then you click on the computer, you can see what their attendance is like for every year. But it is also, attendance is a parental issue. My position is the school can do everything we want to do to get them home, but to get them in school, but we only have them for 6 hours a day. Those parents have them for 18. I know a chunk of it they're sleeping, but at the same time, you gotta stress the importance of education and know that those kids have to be in school.
During our school committee forum that we held last week, there was discussion about, for lack of a better term, transportation equity, on not only equity in terms of the high school students needing to pay for a SERTA bus, and there are some waivers for that, but also the way the schools are set up, that they're more distanced, that students may have a difficult time getting up to meet a bus. Right. Is that something that can be explored more?
Well, again, I've had conversations with the governor, lieutenant governor, Senator Rodrick. Transportation equity across the board is an issue. When you look at what happens, a kid from Sunset Hill that takes the bus from Sunset Hill to Diamond, or a kid that takes the bus from Sunset Hill to Durfee, the state pays for 100% of the bus ride to Diamond. Doesn't give us any money for Durfee. So that you look at it, you say, why aren't we getting some reimbursement on these things? If you looked at a fairness on how they funded school transportation, when you look at the law, they're very similar, but it says subject to appropriation, which means the State House would have to allocate money for that. It's something that I've gone around and around with those guys on. I think they have to be fair, and I'm hoping they address it shortly, because again, busing is a big thing. I mean, a kid 6 or 7 years old can walk a mile and a half to school. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
And that has to be picked up on the city side budget,
yeah.
not the school department.
Not the school side, no.
Right.
It's city side.
Right. And I believe this year is $11 million
Yep.
approximately that the city has to.
Yep.
Plus, above and beyond the increase in net school spending because of the, again, great problem to have if you're the school department, right?
No,
with
that's
all
right.
the money from the
Right,
Student Opportunity Act, but it does cost.
It costs the city a lot of money, and again, we don't begrudge our schools money, but at the same time, someone that's looking at this would say, wait a minute here, what are we doing? Let's bump the brakes a little bit and help these guys.
How do you foresee the city tackling, I believe you had mentioned that in this fiscal year that we're currently in, the city is asking the taxpayers to pay for the Durfee debt exclusion fully this year?
Going that way right now, but I'm hoping we can do something. We'll see.
And then you've got Diamond. This year's the first payment,
Right.
not as high as it's going to be.
Right.
How do you see the city?
I
paying
think
for that?
Diamond is going to, the actual struggle is going to be with Diamond because let's be real, the Durfee debt exclusion was voted on by the public. They had a say, they got to weigh in on it, it was approved. Diamond was approved by the city council, and I've asked them to start thinking about ways they want to fund it. We didn't, the administration didn't have a say on this. We had pushed, as you know, I talked to Council President Joe Camaro, who I'm good friends with. We wanted a vote on Diamond also, but the council thought differently and went down another path. But they're going to have to be partners in how we're going to get the funding. It's like $6 million a year. It's
Is it possible you can still do a debt exclusion, or is it you past that?
I mean, we could do it, but why would anyone vote for it when it's coming anyway?
Right.
They're
Right.
going to say you take care of it.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not voting for it.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
If you say vote for it because we'll get a new school, then you have a carrot. But what's over there now? I don't see the other side. Vote for it. We're going to raise your taxes. Yeah, make cuts is what they're going to say.
Right.
So it's different.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the last questions I have for you today is sort of it goes back to quality of life, but also goes back to city residents. And actually, I've had a couple of other candidates for other races sitting at this table say this, that Fall River has a problem with apathy, with being self-congratulatory. It's always like, woe is Fall River.
Yeah.
That you probably can't change for some
No,
people.
no.
But as a mayor, how do you hope to try to make people aware that good things are happening, so maybe there will be some sort of
But
change?
that kind of sums up what you were also talking about specifically is this mayor's race. I am very bullish and positive on Fall River. My opponent, his only hope to win is doom and gloom, make it sound like it's negative, this is no good, this is no good, that's no good. And guess what? If I was running against a strong mayor, I might be trying to do that too. But that's all he has. The residents have to understand that when you hear a constant drumbeat of negativity from your potential leaders, it goes that way. You don't hear, he's spending $15 million on Lewiston Street. I think we should spend $5 million on Watuppa Heights. That's how you get people thinking about pointed issues being discussed properly. But what happens is a lot of time your leaders are so negative or down on the city, and I am not, and I won't be. I will tell you that right now. I want people to know that this is a good city. I ride around in the morning and I look at things, and I'm very proud of this city, and I'm not going to get off it. If the voters decided they wanted to go another way, I might cry for a day, but then I'll go back to doing something to help the city, because that's what you do when you care about the city. It's not everything's bad, everything's bad. There's so much good going on in this city right now, and people notice it. Wherever I go, people are like, I like what you're doing, I like how it's going. They're very positive to me. People don't believe it when I tell them, and I know it sounds nuts. I've never even been confronted or yelled at in this city by anybody. People will go on Facebook and they'll make their snarky comments, and that's part of being a mayor. But they don't bother me.
Yeah.
When I'm at Market Basket, people always say positive things. When I'm in a park, I always make it a point to loop the parks during Little League season to see what's going on. People are always nice, and I like that part of the job.
I want to give you the last minute we have to speak to the voters on why they should elect Paul Coogan for a third term.
I just did some of it right then.
Yeah, right.
People have to understand that this is a full-time position. Last night, my last event on Sunday night was at 6 o'clock. You have to be engaged with the community. I don't want to make it all negative on my opponent, but at the same time, where's he been? I mean, no one knows where he's been for the last 6 or 8 years, and now he's going to, come in and be a mayor. I don't think that's how it works. If he wanted to get involved, school committee, city council, get involved with some neighborhood groups. But by the way, I'm running for mayor. That's not my style. When I ran for mayor, I worked my way up from being a vice principal to the school committee, and I stayed focused on how to make the city better. Everybody knows me. I'm accessible. We care about the city. We try to make best decisions based on how it's going to benefit the majority of the residents in the city, whether it's parks, roads, the waterfront. We're doing things, whether the events, look at the things we've done at the city pier. The movie the other night for Halloween was packed. We want people to have fun living in the city, spend their money here, invest in our community, and we will grow Fall River together. That's why I'm the only candidate in the race that's been endorsed by both Republican governors, Charlie Baker, Polito, Maura Healey, Kim Driscoll, our congressman. They know how hard I work for the city. They know how much I care about it. And we're going to continue to do that with your vote on November 7th. So I really appreciate it if you consider me. And thanks for listening today.
All right, Mayor Coogan, thank you for your time as always. We'll talk again soon. I appreciate it, and good luck.
All right, thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. Please make a point to vote on Election Day, November 7th.